you must tune your bass to up.
Hello and welcome to RHNN. In today's episode, we'll be taking cover from Storm Claudia, all whilst hiding in the middle of Chalkwell Park and repairing 3 PlayStation 2s. I hope you enjoy. Is what I would say if the results hadn't turned out like this. Resident reporter and all-round drain Bordeux Denieres has decided to do a tech-related piece on the PlayStation 2 Slim, right in the heart of Storm Claudia, which is quite brave, I think. He'll be getting a little star for his tedium later. And don't expect much, because everything we've given him to repair has been returned in worse condition. Enjoy. As you can probably hear, Storm Claudia's starting to pick up. So we're just going to work on this SCPH-50003 unit PlayStation 2 Slim.
The numbers! What?
To begin, we want to remove the feet. Not that one there. That one. 6 screws. Pry this up like that. The rubber ones, north, south, east, west. Come down diagonal. This plastic foot. Not a lot of people know that. Luckily you got me, certified genius. I've got an IQ of 68. There ain't a lot of people out there with an IQ like mine. I don't need no electric. Flip it round and take this off. Make sure you grease them up with silicone or lithium grease. Now, remove this. Pull it up like that. Yeah, you pick it up. What we got to do now is repair our dodgy screwdriver, caveman style. Undo these. Pick up the board fan, 2-pin, screws, disk drive, power connector, ribbon cable, power connector, power connector here, ribbon cable hooks up to that, unscrewification, plastic piece thing, pull this full way, in the mountain, grease, pick this up, click, remove, pick this up, CMOS, thermal pad, other side, fan, PS2 Slim. Now to reassemble. Like this, plug this in, plugged in, sit it down, check to make sure everything's sat properly. Make sure this ribbon doesn't go above here, because if it does, your discs are going to get scratched. You can fix it with a bit of adhesive, a little dab under there. You can also use a little bit of card, so it still glides under. Now, flip the board over, but not before plugging in the fan. Plug that in, plug this in. Oh, it's so crunchy. Flipping this over. Oh, keep this held. Place this. Now you just need to stick this on like that, yeah. Screws back in. You can't stop me. Just flip this over. Screws. You want to make sure you don't make the mistake I made, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sitting here cackling at myself. I'm just giggling uncontrollably, and the reason I'm doing as such, I've accidentally left these screws in on the other side. Remove them. Back in here like that. Ooh. Look at the grace, skill, craftsmanship. Oh, straight in there, yeah. Then we put that there like that. See the notches? Put that in there like that. There's your infrared sensor, by the way. Sensor's infrared. Excellent. Ooh. Place this on top. Now guess what you gotta do? Now that you've done all that, you should have a fully refurbished PlayStation 2.
How many special people change?
But not to worry, we're gonna do it again, just for you.
Double trouble vibe, bubble the arena. 10 years and we still got the fever. One for all, we're not looking for no leader. All you gotta do is know how to heater. Dance floor, introduce you to the sweeper. Lock it down, big sound, it's a keeper. So stand clear and get ready for the creeper.
Now the reason we're beginning with the PlayStation 2 is because you don't really need that many tools to be able to refurbish it. Now all you need to repair a PlayStation 2 is 2 crosshead screwdrivers, a big one and a small one. Fuck off, I'm not telling you my measurements, that's a family secret. Brush for brushing away dust and a big brush for brushing away bigger dust. A spudger, 99.9% isopropyl alcohol for cleaning the motherboard and other components. And if you're feeling good about yourself, you can get a magnetic mat. Now the best part about all of these tools is they can all be found around the back of McDonald's bins for free. Right, so what you want to do to begin is check your model number. This one is a 50003. The other two we've got is a launch model 30003 and another 5003 but in black.
I keep hearing the fucking numbers. Numbers are real.
All of the interior components were cleaned during Storm Claudia, but as you can see, I didn't really do a great job because I was kind of worried about them getting damp. So to start, you want to remove this, flip your console upside down, and you're going to see these rubber feet. All you want to do is put your spudger in and very carefully lift up. I say very carefully because sometimes they just ping across the room and there's nothing you can really do after that point. You've got that one there, 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 that one, that one, and that one. Bring up all the feet and expose the screws. Now that you've got all your screws exposed, you just want to take your screwdriver and start unscrewing. Now that you've removed all the screws, you want to flip it round, turn it this side facing you. The great part about the 5003s is that the power and eject button are connected to the dish tray itself, so you haven't really got to worry about a loose ribbon cable when you take the top off. To take the top off, pull this little bit here, bring that forward, and there you go. These are the auxiliary components for the PlayStation 2. There's your fan. That's for keeping everything cool. That's your power switch. This you can actually just pull up and out like that. These are your controller and memory card ports. They're what they say on the tin. This is a disk drive. It is a disk drive, it reads discs. Not really much to say else there. This is your power and eject button. These fins here, this is your heat sink. Under here is a thermal pad which leads to the GPU and CPU. The older consoles used to use thermal pads instead of thermal paste because they'd only really get up to about 50 degrees, maybe 60 max. Now with that out the way, you just want to remove that screw there, that one there, and that one. Now that you've got those screws removed, you want to be very, very careful because this is held in place with a ribbon cable which can break very, very easily. The way I pick this up out of the lower chassis, I put my right hand here inside of the hard drive bay and I put my left hand here to keep this in place whilst I pick it up. Pick this up. Now that you've got the metal clamshell and components out of the plastic chassis, you can continue to work on it. I like to remove this. It's just a tab there. Pull this up and that just falls out. Place that to the side. I'll show you how to clean it, restore it, etc. later. Next thing I like to do is remove this. Be very, very careful when you're working with the fan. It is extremely fragile. Once that's free, you just want to take that out like that. Flip the board over. Another job of unscrewification, you need to take these four off of the power supply. They also hold the hard drive enclosure in place. This power switch here, you can literally just unclip off of the power supply. That's all just one separate piece. You can now work completely unobstructed. Now that you've removed all 4 screws, all you want to do is lift up the power supply. You may get a little bit of resistance because this is where it connects to the pins on the motherboard, which gives the motherboard power. And this is literally just lift and remove. This plastic bit here, this wire here, you want to be extremely careful. This is for the fan, it likes to break. It's its favourite activity. All you want to do, lift up like that, inspect the wires, there's a black and a grey one, and then you've got another fun job of removing screws. Got to remove all of these screws. There's loads of screws this time, they're all tiny, easily lost, so have fun. I'll join you on the other side. With them removed, flip once more. Now to remove this metal shell, you need to unclip the disk drive. Got one point there up front. We come round here, you'll see there's another one there and another one there. These two at the back hold the disk drive to the bottom of the metal chassis. Come back round to the front and unclip. Now when you pick up the disk tray, you want to be extremely careful because you've got 3 delicate ribbon cables right here. You've also got one over here, that's for the motor, which I'll show you on the 3003 model. Once you've got all the ribbon cables carefully disconnected, very carefully lift this up, pick this up, and I'll slide this out like that, and I'll hold this in place and just pick up the board. Once you've got this bottom chassis removed, you want to come over here and lift that brown tab up, but be extremely careful, as like the ribbon cables themselves, they can just snap, and once they're gone there's nothing you can really do. With that up, pull that, and there's your ribbon cable. You can now separate. From here you can remove this memory card / controller port ribbon cable. Make sure you keep them safe. And this is the entire underside of the PlayStation 2 50003 Phat model motherboard. This is the other side. I will be going over components in a moment, how they differ, etc. And that's the whole top side. That's your CMOS battery. If you're wondering why a computer or console would need a CMOS battery, it's strictly to keep power on the timing circuit. So if you set your date or you set your time, if you unhook it from power and then rehook it up, it will keep whatever date and time it is you set. Most systems nowadays go off of the internet, but there'll still be a CMOS in there somewhere.
Oh please, I couldn't care about your T's and C's.
Now you're in the cleaning stage. All you're going to need is a brush, any brush will do, isopropyl alcohol. I use 99.9% just because it evaporates almost instantly. Most likely on your board you'll see loads of dust, big dust bunnies, etc. on both sides. To start, you just want to do a dry run with a brush. I can't do this one-handed, so I'm just giving you a terrible example. But you just want to do a dry run, get rid of all the dust you can, all the big bits of dust, both sides. Get rid of as much as you can. You want to clean the inside of the ports. You want to be very, very careful with tabs and the like. You might even want to press them down. Once you've done your dry run, get your isopropyl alcohol, you get your brush, and you go over the board like you did on the dry run. You want to get rid of as much as possible. You want to get rid of corrosion, oxidation, white spots. If there's severe oxidation, best way to deal with it, you make, I'd say 3/4 baking soda to 1/4 water. You keep mixing up, make a thick paste, lay it on, and you just leave it for about 10-20 minutes. You then wipe that off, all the corrosion and oxidation comes off. So I'm not promising anything, that's just a poor man's solution. I've done it multiple times and I've never had a poor result from it. Now that you've done that, just leave it to dry about 10-20 minutes, shouldn't take long, and be very, very careful where you light up a cigarette. I'm not going to waste your time, just basically do what you did with the motherboard, with all the other components, with the exception of the dish tray, but every other component, just treat them exactly the same. The plastic chassis, if you want, but you can actually just wash them up in the sink with a little bit of disinfectant and some washing up liquid. Just ensure there's no residue, soap, no excess dust or anything, and you'll have the exterior looking perfect as well. So now that's dry, you want to locate these. Place your ribbon cables in. That's one. You should be able to lightly tug on that without it coming out, but obviously don't be too rough because they will just snap or rip. Next, you want to place your CMOS in. Next, you want to take this ribbon cable and you want to plug it into here. These two tabs at the side pull out, lift this up, plug that in, and then push these tabs back down. It can be a little bit awkward, so I'm going to come back to you once it's done. Now that you've got that hooked up and connected, I recommend sliding in the top chassis under here, like that. I'll join you once I'm done. With that in place, just plug these 4 ribbon cables in. Now with all those plugged in, you want to put on the bottom chassis. Whilst putting on the bottom chassis, always remember to clip in that clip and those 2 clips here on the underside for the disc tray. Now here comes the fun part. You've got to put that screw in there and you've got to do all of these screws back up. Have fun, I'll meet you there. Right, on this side, the rear fan shroud, you want to place this over like that. You will need to clip that in place there, like that for now. Get your fan, there's a little pinhole there that lines with that pin there, same as on this side. You want this wire facing downish. You'll just slot that in like that. Might want to put that screw in there now, just to hold this whole bit in place. You want to be careful, but you want to plug this fan in. Ooh, daredevil, daredevil. There we go, that's down properly. I'm going to remove that sticker because it's not needed. With the fan plugged in, you want to take this plastic piece from earlier and you want to slide that on in like that. It can be a little bit finicky, but it hooks on just like that. Next, take your hard drive enclosure and place it like this. You'll have 2 little tibs there. Just place them on like that. Now you want to grab your power supply and align those holes there with those pins there. Pop it in place, push it down. And now the 4 screws you removed earlier from the power supply, you put back in place. These 2 screws here also hold the hard drive enclosure in place. The power supply screws, just in case you've forgotten, are these small gold ones. With the screws in, you want to take this from earlier and you want to just slide this in place like that. Flip this around and this just slides in place like that. With all the main parts done, you just take the bottom of your plastic chassis and place all of the components inside of the shell. Make sure you align all the holes, everything lined up properly. There you go, that's mostly done. With the majority of the components back in the chassis, you can put this down. I'm just waiting for mine to dry, but I'll show you as an example. You plug this ribbon cable into this clip here. Once you've got that plugged in, you want to move the slack underneath. You want to keep it within there. And you want to line up the middle holes with the tabs on the chassis and use 2 gold screws to hold these down. If you're going to test it, now would probably be the best time before you go through all the effort of putting all the screws in and realising you've done something wrong. I don't have electric personally, so I can't test it. Now that you've tested this is working, all you got to do is get this, lean it slightly forward, catch it there, bring it back, and then line it up back here. This bit usually pops out. You just do this and it comes back in. Take your expansion bay, plug that in like that, flip it round, put all your screws back in. Just in case you've forgotten where all the screws go, silver screw goes here towards the front, short, 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 tall, 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 tall. In regards to which feet go where, the rubberized ones will have rounded holes and the plastic ones will have squared off holes. Now with this silver model 50003 PlayStation 2 completely done, we're going to move over to the launch model 30003. The same tools apply, we don't need anything different. This is a launch model 30003. I've decided to do this specifically to show you the differences and variations from launch to the standard later models. This one doesn't have a front fascia, we're going to repair that. We've got a spare dish tray drawer if need be, so I'll be able to show you how that's done. One of the key differences when it comes to the original PlayStation 2 is instead of 8 screws, this one has 10. And not only that, they come out to the front. I'm not going to bore you any further by showing you how to undo all these feet and screws, as you already know the gist by now. I'm just going to show you any key changes. With the screws removed, you'll be able to see the next variation with the launch model. This just pulls up. We can undo this screw here, remove this metal sheet, just pick that up. This screw here, with that removed, you just pick this up put it to the side. If you plan on doing a complete disassembly, I recommend unplugging all of the ribbon cables now. Instead of a ribbon cable, this one's actually seated on the connector itself via pressure. This one here, you may have to apply quite a bit of pressure in order to get it up, especially if it's the first time this system's ever been taken apart. Once you've disconnected all of those ribbon cables, this just picks up. The reason this is the way it is because there's not enough space on the board for an IDE reader, and so on the launch models they just made it a separate module. Ooh, we're in a danger zone now. Ooh, we're in the clear. Flip your console over. Before we take off the top shell, we have to keep in mind that we have to be really careful with the 3XXX series consoles, because the power and eject switch are mounted to the top shell itself instead of the disk tray. So if you're not careful, you can just snap that ribbon cable and you won't get any power to reset or eject, or if you've damaged a couple of traces, you'll be able to eject but not press reset, vice versa, or it'll just do weird shit. Now from it, pretty much do what we did with the 50003 series. Lift this up. This is what you've got to be careful of. Got a ribbon cable that hooks up here. You've sort of got to get a spudger under it in order to unhook it. Once you've done that, make sure you put it somewhere safe and be careful with it, because again, it's a ribbon cable and they like to find any excuse to break. This is what it should look like with the top shell removed. There's your power and eject switch. Now, this is your power supply. It's slightly different to the one we took out of the 5 series. One screw there, one screw there, one screw there, one screw there. Same as on the other one. I recommend picking this up first and unhooking it, similar to how you did in the 5 series. Now nothing's in your way. Again, similarly to the 5K series, you just pull this up. You'll get a bit of resistance from these pins. Right, now you need to flip it over, but make sure you hold the disk tray, the power and eject button and the fan, because they will just fall. Now you've got another screw job. You've got to do that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Flip it round again, being careful of the components. Lift the disk tray, up and out. Be careful of that ribbon cable there. That snakes through that hole there. Now the fan, then you want to come down here. With this one, you haven't got much room to move around. You have to undo that black clip and pull out the ribbon cable, and then put this to the side. Unhook this ribbon cable, you just pull that out there. So now it's one separate piece. And then we want to flip this again. Pull this ribbon cable through. Keep in mind when disconnecting the motherboard, there is a terminal block here you have to separate. It is held in there fairly firmly, so you might have to put a little bit of pressure on it just to get it to come up. Once that's separated, your next point of contention is this. It likes to put up a bit of resistance, but all you need to do is pull up firmly. Keep one hand this side and then your other hand pulling up, not too forcefully. If you want, you can even put your fingers right on the top of the pins just to get this to slide out easier. With that lot removed, you can pick this up, flip it round and then slide this back and up. There you go, that's your heatsink. Thermal pad there. Again, you've got your GPU and CPU. Here's where your CMOS battery is located. You've got 3 more screws to undo and you've pretty much disassembled the entire unit. Once you've undone all the screws, you can just put your hand under here, pick it all up. As you can see, another difference, the shroud is all one piece. It's kind of built like a PS4. If you've ever taken those apart, it's exactly the same sort of thing. Whereas the others, it's just top chassis, bottom chassis, and then obviously your clamshell board, bay, etc. Now you should be left with all of these components once you've finished disassembling. Got your fan, switch, power supply, ports, motherboard, sister board, shell pieces, hard drive bay / IDE reader, and then obviously all your ribbon cables and that one little plastic piece. Now that we've got all these components laid out, all we've got to do is clean everything and repair the disk drive, which I'll show you how to do yourself. This is our launch model 30003 disk drive. There are many different variations and models of disk drive. This one uses 2-pin plugs instead of just a ribbon cable. We want to fix this. I'm going to flip that over. Now your disk tray should have screws. Mine weren't here when I got this unit. Once you got the screws removed, just want to pick this up. This is your disk tray. This is where the fascia normally connects. Our one's snapped. So what we're going to do is disconnect these 2 screws. Grab here at the base of the disk drawer and lift while gently pushing out from that side. There you go. That's the old disc drawer removed. I've got this replacement. This one is from a 3003R, but for all intents and purposes it's exactly the same. But before we do that, I'm going to teach you how to restore and refurbish a disk drive for a PlayStation 2. If you want to brush it, use isopropyl alcohol. You want to grease this up, lithium or silicone grease, either or works. You want to ensure this can be moved freely and that this moves that up and down. And you want to ensure that when you move this forward and back, it moves smoothly. I'm going to be pushing a little bit too hard, just an example, but if you're hearing this noise, it means your worm gear's dry. Once you've greased that up, it should sound like this. If you find your disk tray slipping, under here you've got a drive belt. Sometimes that's either too dry or too loose and it just won't make proper contact. So instead of your disk tray coming out normally, you'll get it where it either jumps or you can hear the gears whirring and nothing's happening. It's actually really common. This here is your motor for the worm gear. This is your laser, that's your spindle. That's where your disc hooks onto. So when you open it, this comes down. When you put your disc in, as your drawer's coming in, it catches here and brings this back up. When that comes back up, it hits this magnet that acts as a stabiliser so your disc doesn't wobble all over the place. Now with all your disk drive components cleaned and lubed, you want to take your replacement tray, line this up here. Make sure that this track lines up with that track there and that this notch comes underneath this one. That goes on like that and then gets pushed under there. Now once you've got the new disk tray seated, you want to align this with those two plastic pegs and then screw these in here. You will need electric for this step because you will need to realign the disk tray. Normally that just consists of ejecting and inserting a disc just to make sure it works and that the tray is aligned. You can now get the top of your disk tray and place it back exactly where it was. Make sure you do up them screws. I'm going to find 2 new replacements now. I also recommend lubricating this rail on the underside of the track. Now everything should be clean, it's time to put it back together. I'm going to place that on like that. There's these plastic tabs where it rests. Then we want to grab our CMOS battery board, stick that through here. So it should be sat flat like that. Now before you screw it down, you want to plug in this ribbon cable and snake it under here till it reaches this exit here. Now before you put these 3 screws in, your board should be looking a little something like this, with this snaking all the way round through there out to the other side. Now screw these in. With the CMOS board plugged in, you want to put the heatsink and shell back on the motherboard and then plug it back in via the pins on this side. Remember, when you put it down, ensure that this is seated correctly, and then once you've checked that, put all the screws back in. Now the screws are in, plug in this ribbon cable here. Now plug this ribbon cable in. This is for the memory card and controller ports. Once you've done it, it should be sat like that, snaking round into here. With that plugged in, you want to flip it all over. So I can't record this because I'm going to have to do it one-handed, but you need to essentially slip that ribbon cable in there. And then once that's done, you place it on there like that. That goes in there. With that hooked up, you want to plug in the fan. You want to line it up with the slots. Like that. There you go. Now you want to grab your disk tray. This ribbon cable here needs to go through that hole in order to plug in on the other side. These holes should all be aligned. Plastic peg there, and you can put a long gold screw into the port module. Flip the console over once more, but once again be careful. Take your IDE expansion bay module and slide it in like so, and then this just comes down like so. You'll hear it crunch when it goes down, and then you've got your last remaining ribbon cable to plug in this side, which is the disk tray. Once you've got all of your ribbon cables down, you should be able to lightly tug on all of them without them just coming out or off. With all that checked, take the top of your hard drive bay and just place it down like this. There's these plastic guiding pegs, there, and there. Once that's down and fully seated, take a gold screw and screw it in here. Once that screw's in place, take this, place it on top, and then place another gold screw in here. Flip this over again from here, take your power supply and plug it into the pins, making sure to align the holes carefully, and then you need 4 gold screws for each corner point, just like with the 5 series. With your power supply now installed, get your power switch and plug it in. Now plug in your power and eject switch. Make sure you feed the ribbon cable through this side so it extends to there. Once it's plugged in, this is what it should look like. Install this piece, it just goes on and over like that. Now you want to take your top piece, this you want to put upside down, you want it here with power up here and eject down here. Again, be careful, ribbon cable, blah blah blah. Now that you've got power and eject locked in place, I'm going to slide this down like that. Drop it down in place. Look around, just make sure everything's aligned, and now you want to flip it over. Take your bottom piece and just pop that on top. Again, ensure everything's aligned properly. Get everything popped down like that. And now you're ready to screw it all back up. These two screws in the corner are long, the rest are all short. Take your expansion bay and then flip it around. Can't tell you whether or not it works, but you know, here it is, jolly good. We're moving on to the last PlayStation 2 now. It's another 50003 but in black. This is the last PlayStation 2 Phat we'll be dealing with. It's another 50003 but back in black. Let's not waste time, I'm not going to subjugate you to shit you've already seen. Unlike with the launch model, we've only got 8. That's the standard plastic shell design. That's used on most models and variations of those models. As there are literally 0 variations between this and the silver 50003, I'm going to call it a night. I'm actually really shocked that the council haven't chucked me out of the park yet. For the last time, tall, short, silver. Flip it over for the last time, and that's all 3 PlayStation 2s done. And with that little charade out the way, I mean, he didn't even plug in the fan or the plastic guard, I think it's time we call it a night. I mean, every time he performs a repair, his qualifications are put further into question. On top of that, he's really ugly, but you can't cyberbully him because he has a syndrome. Good night.